亲爱的贵宾师长，早安！欢迎您莅临国立台湾师范大学教务处教学发展中心103年度教师研习第1场讲座。本次讲座主题为翻转教室与混成学习。首先，恭请本校教务长陈昭生教授致辞。
慧玲老师，还有洪昌老师，我们的两位贵宾，岳老师 ，Professor Notari， 今天非常高兴由师大的教发中心来办理今天这样一个研讨会。因为翻转教室混成教学，我想应该是21世纪非常重要的一种教学方法。师大在这个部分呢，也有很多的老师曾经做过非常多的实验，也都非常的成功。我们每一年教发中心所辅助的计划里面有非常多非常棒的成功的这种教学模式。为了在让各位老师让各位同道能够更了解我们整个的混成教学的一些不同的做法，所以我们今天特别邀请了台大的岳秋平教授还有远从瑞士伯恩大学来的教育大学来的这个 Professor Notari 来跟我们分享整个的混成教学跟翻转教师的一些做法。我们非常感谢整个教发中心这边的一个安排，也很谢谢两位嘉宾两位演讲者。更谢谢各位贵宾今天的一个莅临。我们今天会场是大爆满。我们原来想说这样一个主题，而且只有半天，可能参加的人不会太多，结果没有想到一上网马上在第一天呢就已经快爆满了那也引起了很多同事的抱怨，说为什么没有让场地再大一点我想这只是一个开始。我们在今年呢会陆陆续续的推出有关这方面的一些活动跟讯息，然后也会在很多的策略上面、政策上面去做一些的推动让整个的混成教学这个翻转教室在师大或是在相关的学校都能够来做一些的推动。谢谢各位的莅临，也趁这个机会祝大家新年快乐。Ladies and gentlemen, it's our pleasure to organize the conference, and it's our we are so happy to have two distinguished speakers. Especially, we have Professor Notari from Switzerland. Professor Notari is my co-author of. I am his co-author of one of the books in Chinese version. So we are so happy to have the collaboration opportunity, and also have this opportunity to invite him come here from Switzerland and from Hong Kong. This time is his Christmas holiday, but he spent his holiday in speaking, in speech. In Macau, in mainland China, and in Taiwan. So we are so happy, so pleasure, and I hope you have a happy New Year. Thank you very much. 今天我们在座的两位呢，一位是我们教发中心的主任，我们赵慧玲赵教授，还有我们这个教发中心的副主任我们林宏昌林教授。等一下的演讲呢，就有两位来帮各位主持来为我们主持。那我就把主持棒交给两位，谢谢大家。
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This morning, the second talk will be given by Dr. Notari. Dr. Notari is from the University of Teacher Education in Bern, Switzerland. And Dr. Notari is the pioneer of using wiki as a collaborative tool in a branded classroom. Today, he will give us the concept of branded classroom. Also, he will give us many examples how to use wiki as a collaborative tools to enhance students' learning. Now, let us welcome Dr. Notari and his talk, the wiki-Way of learning. Thank you.
Ni hao. It's the only word almost like Chinese. So, I heard before that there are some people who cannot speak English so well. So I would like you to just talk to each other. If someone understands, explain to the neighbor. So, xie. Thank you very much for inviting me, Professor Zhou Chen. Thank you very much also for your introduction. And thank you very much for being present here. I had a very warm welcome in Taipei and in Taiwan, and I had the opportunity to see many good things, and I'm happy to be here. I'm honored to speak to you in order for this occasion. I will start with the message which has been presented at the end, the take-home message. I think many of you are teachers, Lao Xu. How many teachers are here? How many Lao Xu? So the take-home message, the important message, whatever you use technology for learning, whatever you do, teacher matters. You are important. If you don't believe what you do, it won't work. You can use whatever technology you want. Please think of that. That's very important. That's one take-home message. She already said that. A second take-home message, student involvement. If the learner participates, if the learner are engaged, that matters. And that's why I have a task for you. I know questions and answers are difficult to ask. So please, if you think you are hungry and you want to go for lunch, for the first question you ask, you get some Swiss chocolate. I brought this. So, first question. For the second question you ask, you get another chocolate. So if you feel sleepy, think of that. Think of the questions, and then think of the reward. So, students or learner interaction matters. That's very important also. And the third thing, technology can help. Can help to engage students, and that's also quite a good thing about it. But it is always to be questions. What is the added value of technology? If there is no added value, then let it be. So always if you are teaching, think about, does technology help to enhance what I want to do? If it is, use it. If it is not, skip it. That's very important. It's important for classroom, it's important for massive open online courses, for everything. If there is no added value, let it be. Okay, I will talk about modeling classroom education with participative technologies. Participative means that the technology enhances participation between students and teachers, among students, between students and technology. That is very, in my opinion, important. And then talking about modeling, I'm not talking about conceiving or designing, because in my opinion, modeling takes place before course starts, but also while the course is ongoing. So that's why I use this term. So I will just explain at the beginning something about, let me see, I have the resolution of the screen is a bit different. I will give a little bit introduction about blended and flipped classroom, but you heard about 10 models of blended classroom. I will just present one. And I also prepared a short movie about flipped classroom. I think everybody knows what it is, so I will just skip it because it's not important. Participation matters. That was the first part of what I'm talking about. The second part, some theoretical background about modeling. So what is modeling? What I think about is modeling. That's a little bit more theoretical background about what I'm talking later. Then I will just focus on one instructional model which can be used with a participative technology. So I make just one example. You had before quite an overview of different ideas how this technology-enhanced learning can be implemented. I will try to focus on one technology and maybe one or two instructional design models. And of course, you already heard the technology I will talk about is Wiki, and we will just listen how this technology can be used as a teacher in order to enhance collaboration, in order to enhance participation, in order to enhance formative assessment. I think these are critical and important things about how technology can be used in an effective way to enhance what it is. That means that this gives an added value to technology. Then, we go to the next point. I will give you some examples. A specific example which has been really used in classroom education. I have examples from all levels of school, from primary school to university teaching. And in fact, these examples are also shown in the book which Professor Zhao Shen proposed before. And I think this is an experience of about now 12 years of using wikis in education. I started in 2002. I think not many people knew what wikis are then. And now I think it's has been spread. I will show you also the reason why this technology is spread over the world and also is used in education. And last but not least, we'll talk about the book. That is the thing. I will just give a short introduction about what's written in there, so maybe you can use the content of this book to enhance your teaching using this technology. That is a little bit an overview of what I'm talking about. We go back to the start. So here. Go back, sorry. Okay. Oh, the screen is not really so big. So that the resolution of my screen is different, so I have to manage. Blended, flipped, participative classroom. We go first for the blended classroom, and I show you just one definition which fits, I think, most of the models you proposed before. You proposed 10 models, but if I was attentive enough, I think I got that this definition fits for all your models. That means it's a definition which can be implemented for all the models. So, blended classroom is nowadays our classroom which utilizing online content and tools, integral aspects of instruction. The concept of blended learning is not new. I think all of you already did blended learning. And blended learning has been started, I think, 1,000 years ago, when a teacher gave something home to work, some homework. That's the first point, first part of blended learning. Nowadays, we have technology which permits to enhance the activity of the learners outside of the presential session. And that's the added value if it's done properly. I think this is one point. There has been some research concerning blended learning, and in fact, let me show it, see if I can make it big enough. Yeah. There are three main effects that have been shown in different researches. If you're interested, I can give you the articles. I think the differentiated instruction is an added value. They have been shown that there is accelerated learning. That means the concept which has to be taught, they are learned in a quicker way. And the point is also that in blended curricula, they're shown a sustainable program. So that are added values of this type of education, this type of blended learning, of learning concept. So, the flipped classroom, I have a YouTube video which describes a little bit the flipped classroom, but I guess I won't show it because flipped classroom is one form of blended classroom, and she already shown all the different important things of a flipped classroom. In fact, the instruction takes place not over the teacher, but takes place over technological improvement, which can really help to take out of the lesson of the face-to-face interaction at home. Of course, you can have a look at this video at home. I have an URL. This talk is online. It's an online, it's a web page, and you have access to that. And if you're interested, then we make here a flipped classroom. I don't talk about that. You look yourself. Everything, I think the important thing about all these different types of blended classrooms is that it is important to have a participative environment. Students have to be active, to work at home or in classroom. And if you flip the classroom, it means you have more time to interact during classes. You have more time to talk to each part of any students. That means if some student is a little bit weaker, you can go into that, help the student. The one is very advanced, you can give them more tasks, and that is one of the big added values. That means the students are more active. That means they will learn more, they will learn deeper, they will learn better. So that is the start. One important thing is now, what has technology to do with this concept? We can have blended classrooms, we can have flipped classrooms, also a bit without technology. Flipped is a bit more difficult, blended is easy. But now if you have technology, what is the role of technology? And the role of technology, I have to make smaller because of resolution. I have, with the permission of Dr. Ruben Fuentadura, I show this slide. I think it's quite a good slide to show what technology can help or what could be the added value. And he calls it the SAMR model of the use of technology. There are two different meanings. One, technology can enhance the work with students. That means can substitute. And there's an example here. Maybe Google Earth can be used instead of Atlas to work on geography. Can even augment the use of the Atlas. And that is it's one point. In my opinion, this is very important, can be used for flipped classroom. But I think today, nowadays, the participative technologies can do more. And that's, for me, the very important thing that can give a transformation of what happens with the thing. That means you can modify and you can redefine some content used in a non-digital way. And I think this is very important for concept building, for higher level thinking. If you just have to learn some words, for me, learning some Chinese words, you don't need of modifications and of redefining. But you have to understand the difficult concept. Then by this engagement, you are deepened into the topic and you can learn in a better way, and you will keep also this concept in a better way. So for me, the added value of technology, the added value of participative technology is modification and redefinition. That means the learner goes there and works with some concept, writes down his own concept or her own concept, and so the concepts evolve. Let me see. I think I go manually ahead. That is the blended and flipped classroom. So, we go to the role of the teacher. The teacher matters. The teacher models. The teacher sets up his curriculum. That's you, that's me. And that's important. And how to do it is the question. Modeling means setting up the flipped, the blended, other blended type of classroom. Modeling means think about how the class has to work, how the curriculum has to do, and also important, meanwhile the curriculum is ongoing, what is to be done in order to maximize learning outcome. One model, one framework, which tries to explain how this modeling could be done in a theoretical way, is a model by Professor Notari from London. Smaller. And she goes on, I will quickly explain you its theoretical background. Maybe it's boring, so if you sleep, think of the chocolate. First of all, she says, all of you have a concept in mind about what is learning, or what they should learn. And important is, this concept will be changed while you inquire new information which is given by a speaker or by technology. And this is the part of technology which is just done for information delivery. That means a video, a book, so delivers information, and you acquire this information. So first you inquire, then you acquire. And then your concept, your idea of a topic changes. Then you go on. As I told, it's very important to be active as a student. So we don't have just the concept of a topic, we can also practice, and that's the very important part. By practicing, we get new knowledge. And as you see, we have another type of technology which helps rather on this level of thinking. That means learners, they perform actions, they are active. They do something and they get feedback by the interactive, by the participative technology sometimes. And now the role of the teacher comes. The teacher has a concept, he generates, he models the learning environment, and of course the learning environment also has to be modulated whether it doesn't fit for the learners. Practice is very important. That means it gives an intrinsic feedback to the learners, so the learner practice has then an impact, also modulates the learner concept. So, sorry. It's really the resolution of the screen that doesn't work, so I'm sorry I have to flip around this into that. Oh, maybe you don't understand. So please, really, if you don't understand, talk to each other. So explain. I'm sorry, I cannot answer your question in Chinese, but maybe. So it's getting a little bit more complicated. We have the same concept of the learner, the practice, and the teacher interaction. So also, that was the first slide, that was the second slide, and now very important, with participative technology, they are thought to be working not only between the learner as a central important way and the teacher, but also another compound comes into game, that are the peers. That means the peers, they also have interaction with the teacher, but very important also the peers have interaction among themselves. And now the role of technology, as I showed you, should be in this interaction level between teacher, learning environment, learner, learning environment, and teacher's concept, learner, learning environment, peer, and peer's concept. And I think this leads to knowledge building, to knowledge construction. It has already been explained by you, it's just another way of saying it. So, Also very important concerning this model, you can go at the importance of conversation. Oh, wow, wow, wow. The importance of conversation. I'll show you this slide. And then it's almost done with theory. Not only the interaction, but also the conversational. And model is important for enhancing learning and having a maximized outcome. So you have teacher practice cycle, peer practice cycle, you have peer modeling cycle, peer communication cycles. All these cycles happens during curriculum, during learning. And trying to work on these cycles while you're modeling your blended or flipped classroom or technology-enhanced classroom, this will enhance the learning outcome. This will enhance the learning, the higher structural learning of the students. So that's also quite important. Some other same models basing on this framework of Notari. That is one, the inquiry-based model from Finland has been created in Finland, where you have first a way of how to model instruction that leads you start with the starting of the content, then students create working theories, they make a critical evaluation by the teacher, so it means a formative assessment takes place here, then they go and work on that concept, inquiry-based concept, they share the concept with the peers and with the teacher. That's very important, sharing, not at the end stage of the work, sharing while the work is ongoing. That means if they start learning, you work about one topic, you work about related but another topic, and while you are working and while you're working, there must be an interchange of what happens. That means that you have to interchange your knowledge, and so the concepts will be, the concept of your mind of the topic will be changed. Also important is that you link the different concepts. And I tried to set up another, a little bit more easy model about this, how such learning, instructional-based learning should take place. I call it scripting. It's in fact also modeling form. Important is if you want to change your concept of a topic, and you want to do it in a collaborative way. First, you have to create a certain critical mass of input, then you have to link different concepts of one group to the other group, and then it's very important to communicate, to comment. It means if this group doesn't work, this other group does another work which is related to each other. These peers have to talk about also the work of the other peers, comment, and then try to distill relevant information. I will come back on that model using an example just in a minute. So, done with theory, we go into practice. I think maybe this is a more important way for you. I call that the wiki-Way of learning. Why? I guess that this is an important part. Wiki can really help to implement all the concepts I was talking about before. So, why use these technologies? We have heard before there are many other participative technologies like LMS, CMS, like Facebook, like, I don't know, many others, like Twitter, like LinkedIn. Why use Wiki? I think one important thing about Wiki, by the way, the term Wiki, I think is known by most of you in connection to the term of Wikipedia. I think all of you have used Wikipedia. I am not talking about Wikipedia. No Wikipedia. Because Wikipedia is like an encyclopedia, like a book. You go there and get some information. But Wikipedia is built up using a tool. This tool to produce Wikipedia is a wiki. That means the wiki way of learning is in fact the process which is done if an author is writing, creating content on Wikipedia or on another wiki. So I will show you that other wikis are more appropriate for using in a classroom environment. The tool which is used by Wikipedia is MediaWiki. It's possible to use this one. Other ones are better. Why Wiki? What are the properties of Wiki? Wiki are easy to create content. So that means if I have an idea of a topic I want to learn, I can write down my idea quickly. And then, if I see somebody else having an idea about a similar topic, I can say, oh, I've seen what I think in another place. I make a link. That's also very important. If I'm not alone in a class, but I work in a group or in a learning environment, and I see, oh, my friend had an idea about the topic, I don't agree totally, I know it's wrong. So what I'm doing, I can go there and correct. I can go there and correct as a teacher, but I can go there and correct also as a student. And that's very important, you will see later. Everybody can do that, in Wikipedia, everybody. We will see that in classroom education, we don't need to put a wiki accessible for everybody in the world. I think it's important to have the wiki which is in the classroom. One also important thing, there is a revision control. What does it mean? What does it mean? That's important for smart students. They say, oh, I don't want to see what he's writing. I delete everything. So teacher comes, oh, nothing else, nothing anymore. There is a revision control. Everything which has been saved on a wiki can be retrieved. That has two things. It works against vandalism, but also it's important to see what happened, how the learning curve evolved. What was the concept at the beginning of the learning phases? How did this concept change while the learning phases takes place? That means the teacher has a tool to see how the concepts of their learning, of the students, change during time. And I think this is an important factor. Then it's on the internet, that means you can access it from home, from school, from everywhere. So we have the possibility to do blended classrooms, to do switched classrooms with this tool. Then it's open. We will see that for the schools it's better to close it a little bit. It is process-oriented, so it's not really on the content. On a wiki, if you produce it with the classroom, you will have at the beginning more mistakes. I hope at the end not so many mistakes. This process of taking out the mistakes and to evolving concepts, that is shown and is important for the wiki. Then another thing, wiki is content-oriented and not really whistles and bells, so you cannot format everything, you cannot make a very nice page. It's not a web page creator, it's a working instrument. Okay, so wiki has evolved. Wiki in the last 10 years, it got very popular. I think the name wiki, maybe you know where it comes from, is from Hawaiian. There is the wiki beach, and the inventor of wiki in 1995, Ward Cunningham, he was on a conference in Wiki in Hawaii, sorry, and he went. He saw this bus, and he said, "Oh, I will call that Wiki. Wiki means quick, quick." It's in Hawaiian. I don't know if someone is speaking Hawaiian. I don't. This was one thing. The other thing. Wikis are very safe. I told you there is a revision control, so that means once you've saved something, you can always retrieve it. You can go back to this version. So nothing is lost. That's important. One thing that some teachers don't like, wiki have a flat hierarchy. What does it mean? It means normally, if I'm the teacher, I want to be the boss. Sometimes. That's not so easy using wikis because everybody can do everything. So that means sometimes if a student is engaged, he can gain some knowledge and be very active. So the hierarchy is not as deep. So the role of the teacher may change. But we will see that this role may be also important for future learning, for enhancing the use of technology. So if we don't want to be aware of this change of role, we should take care about using this technology. Because if we don't believe that it's possible to be rather an information transmitter, or rather a tutor than an information transmitter, then it won't work, the system. So that's important. You have to be ready for that switch. Wikis enhance collaboration. That means it's important, it's easy to collaborate because I see what the others are doing. And I don't just see it at the end of their product, I see it during the learning process is ongoing, and that's very important. And I can interchange. The role of the teacher is to regulate, to model this interchanging, this formative assessment. And then wikis helps to build up communities, learning communities. Normally, if you build up a wiki with a class, everybody's engaged in every topic. So it helps also to build up the community of the class, and that can also be, a very important stuff. So, which skills can be enhanced, developed using wikis? There are 4 skills I would mention quickly. One skill is the factual knowledge skill. That means if I'm working on a topic, if I'm producing some artifacts related to this topic, I will gain some factual knowledge concerning this topic. If I'm writing about education technology, I will learn something about that. Of course, also media literacy. I work with media, so I learn something about media. That's, again. And of course, some communication literacies are enhanced. That means I have to communicate and collaborate, so I learn something about that. And also, I can learn some skills related to project tasks. If you build up a wiki, everybody's interested in producing some content. So all the class, all the learning are working for the same topic. That means these skills are also enhanced by using the wiki. So how to do it now? We go into the examples. I will show you an example in higher secondary, or 2 examples in higher secondary education, and 1 example in higher education, and then that will be about the time. Higher secondary education, that was back in 2005 when I was teaching. I was a teacher at high school, then I didn't work at university this time, and I was using wikis for teaching biology. I studied biology and was a biology teacher, so that means wiki cannot be used only for science education, only for multimedia education. Wikis can be used for every type of learning. I give you an example for the biology. And it's quite an easy example. In fact, it's a model that is used since ever. I've done some group works with students. I was talking about anatomy of the human body. And how did I do? I did some groups of 2, and they had to choose one topic: the hands, the foot, the skeleton, the head or another, and they had to write a summary about one of these topics. Just one. So these 2 groups choose the anatomy of the hand. And what did they do? Like in every group work, they had to consult models, 3D models, consult literature, consult the internet, and they had some peer interaction. They discussed together. What shall we put in? What shall we let out? What is important? What is relevant? That's no technology, or just internet as technology, or literature as media, but not really no use of it. Then what I did, I asked the students to write their summary about the topic, not on a sheet of paper, not in a Word file, but in a wiki. So they went to the computer to see their old computers, and then they wrote these summaries in a computer in a wiki. And what happens? I asked them to just start immediately to work there, not to use first a worksheet and then there, immediately there. So after 2 hours, I had the first results. And I gave them a homework to see what did the other do. Go and have a look what the other did in these 2 hours. And what was the idea behind that? The idea was that if a group, another group, saw some good summary, they could copy it. And not copy the summary because they have different topics. But the concepts, how they used, that is the first part of formative assessment. So after one lesson, second lesson, they went on working on that topic. And now you can imagine what happens. You know, they had internet at that time, so this summary grew bigger and bigger and bigger. They copied everything they found. So that's the second step. Second, a very important step as a modulation of the teacher. I said, okay, what you write in your summary will be part of the assessment. No. Part of the assessment, so that means they had to learn what they wrote on that page. And that changed the page dramatically. And then I asked them, go to the other page and try to look whether you understand what the other said. If you don't understand, then change it or comment it. What means that the students changed their summary the way that everybody understood was in there. And then, okay, then the one changed the strategy. They said, okay, we write just nothing, so we have to learn nothing about it. Of course. Then my modulation part was I said, okay, the summary will be assigned. Oh, so if you write nothing, we have a bad mark. So now it's a strategy about to write a good summary, one which is understood by the others, one which is being commented by the others, and one helps to learn the final assignment. So, and that what was the interaction was between the students. That the model I explained before has been built up here in a very, very easy way. And the added value of the technology was that the students could immediately interchange. My modeling was to enhance the interchange by saying them you have to comment, you have to write, you have to compare, you have to link some topics. That was my modeling things that I had to do. So you see that's a very simple group work and very easy use of technology, and also you can see an enhancement. And that work, I practiced that many, many, many times for different group works, for different types of learning, for different topics. I had colleagues which were working on English literature, on German literature, French, on math, and with the same concept we could do a lot of learning environment work with it. Very easy, very simple. Okay, and I still have 5 minutes time. I just will quickly show you this collaborative glossary because it's a slightly different concept than a normal group work. This concept has been used not with one class, but with different classes working on the same wiki. So we could open up the system for different classes. Topic, oh, it's German. So I will translate what I need, but the topic is to create a glossary of evolution, the concept theory of evolution by Charles Darwin. It's difficult for high school students to understand this concept, so it's higher level thinking. And I was using glossary before in the classroom when I was having talks. I had on the blackboard, I wrote down this term means this term means this, and then I laid it on the blackboard. Next week I went on with teaching and I had the glossary growing up. So the point is they had really to add on this we had to create now. It was not me who created the glossary, it was them. And they did it in a wiki-Way. So I gave some definitions of terms related to, I didn't give the definition. I gave them a text, and so they had to define this text concerning evolution, and they were working about that. And the point is, when the definition was done, others had to comment, to correct, had to write where it's understood. So really also here, my task was to enhance interaction, my task was to enhance formative assessment. That means the role of the teacher is very important for interaction. This is in fact how I implemented it. I published it on a book, and I won't get into detail because I won't have so much time. I will try to show you another example of higher education, that means for university students, and then that will be. This is in fact a curriculum I'm still working on. It's about project-based learning, and I think that project-based learning is fits well in the wiki-Way of learning. I think all of you know project-based learning. You already mentioned in your talk before. Project-based learning means students, they work in groups normally, and then they have a topic. Each group has a topic, and then they produce a project. They work on that topic. Normally, if you have one class, you have different topics which are related to each other in a certain way. That's important. And this curriculum I use for teacher students. That means pre-service teacher at my university. I'm teaching at University of Teacher Education. And I had project-based learning, not in a class. Normally, you have project-based learning in small classes, 20, 30. I used this approach for a class of 180. So if you know what project-based learning is, you see you have different projects, you have to manage the different projects, and that's difficult. If you have small groups, many projects, well, then you have a lot of work to do. And I used here technology in order to manage about how to interact with all these groups. I had 50 project groups at the same time I had to manage, and that's quite a big amount. So technology helped me about how to model. So that is the curriculum. We started with a lecture, about 8 lessons. We did them some practical training about the topic, and then this is the most important part. They had 3 months time. 3 months. It's a big project. They had 3 months time to work on the project, and at the end, we had like a meeting where everybody presented their project. So we had in this meeting about 45 to 50 projects which has been presented. So it's quite a big thing. It's quite a complicated, quite a big, complicated modeling system I set up here for this course. And for me, it was important to show about how technology can help enhancing interaction among students, about how technology could be used for me as teacher to help different groups and to enhance them, to have a good going on of learning. So, and what happens that this shows in fact the activity on the wiki. We used the wiki, of course, to manage all that thing, so every group had to publish on the wiki. And you see the following thing that is about the term, the semester, this size, and what happens. Wiki provides such statistics, so you can see what happens inside. Normal good wikis, you can see a teacher what the students are doing. And you see, we had the start, the lectures, and then we had the project start at this time, so many people went there. And then we had different elements, like here was a milestone. We asked them to publish something. And then this was the project work, and that's, of course, students are all over the same. They do nothing at the beginning, and then when they have to give the project, then you see the activity raises. So, what was it important for me to see that? For me, it was important to see how I could really try to change this peak at the end into many peaks in the between. So I could see what happens. That's very difficult normally to see that, but I could see by using this technology what happens. So I tried, of course, when I saw, oh, nothing happened. I have to give an input to my students. Come on, do. What's the problem? Go on. So I could visualize the learning process by using this technology. Then another thing, I just could see, I will show you just quickly. They had to work in groups of 3 or 4, and of course there is task repetition. You know that if you have to do a group work, then you say you do that, you do that, you do that, and they don't talk to each other until the end of the project. That's normal. I wanted to see whether all people interacted on the wiki, because I thought on the wiki every project is be visible, so they can see what happened to the other one. And I did some calculation. I could see because sorry, I have to say that before. Every student, when they use the wiki, they have to log in with a personal login. So the wiki is not really free on the world. It is closed for the learning community of 180 persons. And when they log in, they are individualized. So I can see who is online and who is doing what. So I could see that who is editing. I did some analysis of the heterogeneity of the editing. And I saw following. The closer this box plot is, the more homogeneous is the editing within the group. That means all of the participants contribute at the same part by using the wiki. And the bigger this box plot is, the less homogeneous. That means that it's one man or one student which is working on the wiki and the other one just doing nothing, doing other tasks. And I have seen that it's quite homogeneous. That means that almost all students go into this wiki, interact with other groups, that means do some formative assessment with others, and contribute to the ongoing of the project. So I saw that many students are engaged in the learning process, and I think that through this engagement they learn. And I could see that, I could visualize that, and that is something which is difficult to visualize normally without technology. So that was also an added value by using this technology, who permits me to show that during the learning part. Of course, I did some question and answers, but I think I have to skip this. Let's go to some advertisement now, last 2 minutes. If you want to know more about about this concept, I have a proposition for you. It's a book. It's in German. Perfect for you? No. The original version is in German, but it has been written by about 10 authors from all over the world. So we have different learning scenarios from the States, from Europe, from Asia, from Hong Kong. That means we have different types of learning scenarios, of wiki-ways of learning, from primary school to university school, and it's not in German. It has been translated, thanks our help, your help, into traditional Chinese, so you will be able to understand even better than my talk today. I hope so. Maybe one thing I want to show you that may help you. Is the resolution big? Is it good enough for you? That is a table of contents of the Chinese book. And I just can explain, maybe I'm a bit wrong, but I try to explain a bit, so help me. At the beginning, there are little conceptual thoughts about what wiki is, how wiki works, how you should implement wiki, the wiki way of learning. Then there are examples starting at university level and ending at primary level from all over the world about how this wiki way would be implemented. So I think, if you don't forget my take-home message, teacher matters, students' activity matters, technology helps. I hope I gave you some examples today about how you may implement your technology-supported teaching and learning in the future. Thank you very much.
Okay, we thank Dr. Notari for this great talk, and now we have 5 minutes open for 2 questions or 3.
She was first. You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you for your talk, Fu Juntian from National Taiwan University. And I don't understand one part you mentioned that in the wiki, the process is retrievable. It's you can always go back in and make comments, make corrections by anybody.
Anybody.
And, okay, in that case, that one will cheat something or make it, they will change the words or comments. In that case, if they leave the record in there, so the teacher have to check, there will be a lot of work to the teacher.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So, teacher matters. Doesn't mean that teacher has nothing to do. Do you want to lose your jobs? So, we have a lot of work to do. The work is just a little bit different. Of course, students, they work, and if they're engaged, they work a lot. There is one thing, you have to trust a little bit your students. In my wiki of 150 students working on the same project, I could not manage every page. I could not. But I could say to some students, you are responsible for these pages. If something goes wrong there, I come toward you. So that means you have to delegate some responsibility. But there is some work if you are not, if you don't trust them, then it's gonna, if you don't trust them and they like the work, it won't work. Because if they like, they will produce a lot of things, and produce a lot of things you don't want to. But if you have the class which really interacts with each other, you will see that quality issue is not really a big problem. But then you have to model the way that you say. What's in there, it's relevant. What's in there must be understood by everybody. There are some triggering points where you can enhance quality of the content, reduce noise, and enhance information. So you can really reduce a bit your work, but you cannot cancel your work. Your work is just shifted. You have just a little bit other things to do. You don't have to produce such presentations, like it's a boring presentation like mine today, but you have to check what happens inside, follow them differently. But of course, it's a danger. I had one class which were very, very active, and that was very, very hard to follow up. But normally, students are like we are. Sometimes they are lazy, you more have to go work, so it's not so hard. But it's a work, that's I agree. So, second, chocolate ball. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you for your talk. And my question is that, because Wiki is more a synchronous type of learning, and it's happening like a discussion forums, but the only difference is that it can be edited by everyone. So, but what we really want, like what fake classroom or synchronous classroom can provide, is the conversation. So all we really want is the complicated conversation to be generated.
Right.
So I wonder how you use Wiki to really record this kind of complicated conversation, besides just random discussion, or you force them to really need to post the article online.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, thanks for the question. You were asking, if I understood right, how I can record the ongoing conversation. And that's not possible using a wiki, but that's also not possible using a forum to record the ongoing conversation. You can record whatever is written in there. So, if you write a question in the forum, or whatever other tool, or in a chat, then if you write it in, then it's recorded. And of course, the synchronity of these tools, of a chat, all can work together, and then it goes up, and then the discussion goes on, and you can read it later. That's not so good. It's not so easy to make that with the wiki. So it's not really a tool for recording synchronous interaction within students. In my opinion, the synchronous interaction, if it's possible, should take place face-to-face. And then the result of the discussion, of the interaction we produce some artifacts, and then these artifacts, which are a bit more elaborated than the talk we have, these artifacts are part of the learning process, and these artifacts are then commented and working. So this is a asynchronous part. I try to have the synchronous part in face-to-face. That was my modeling. Of course, if you have a huge amount of students, MOOCs with 10, 20,000 people living in different parts of the world, then you have to use other tools, technology tools, like chats, like whatever, voice over IP, where you have this possibility of recording the synchronous interaction. But in classrooms, in groups, tested with 150 persons over a long term, I didn't use this concept.
Okay, so that's my question. If you only use wiki and not only keep the asynchronous setting for students, but can we just we also blended, and if we blended a synchronous setting and synchronous setting, then maybe we have students that record their discussion by using Google's Hangouts, and then we see the results that are happening on wiki, something like this.
Yes, this is possible. That's you decide that, and of course I don't say this is the only tool you can use. Not at all. Today you were using email, Google Docs, whatever chat programs work to each other. But I am interested, and also the community is interested in what is the result of their communication, which can be shown to the community. So I don't go back to this step, but it's possible. If you say that the community is spread over the country and you cannot, they cannot meet, of course, then you may use also other tools. You may use a tool which is implemented in LMS or in a CMS. There are also wikis inside. I say I just use the tool for just this purpose, and this is good for this purpose. But other tools are much better for other purposes. In my opinion, what I learned until now in the 10 years of experience, that tools which provide a lot of other tools like CMS, LMS, normally the quality of every single tool in the CMS, the wiki, the email system, the file repository system, have not the quality for teaching than the single tools which have been evolved. So if you have a file repository system which does only that, then this tool nowadays has, in my opinion, higher quality than an LMS which includes all these tools. So this, the LMS or the CMS, normally they can do everything. But in my opinion, they don't do it as well as single evolved tool. I was just talking about one tool. Of course, I use also other tools for other purposes.
Thank you.
No more chocolate. Still a question. Maybe you have a microphone or just speak loud.
Okay. We have many barriers and challenges still.
Sorry, I have to come close to you. Thank you.
Hello.
Better.
Still we have many challenges and barriers in adoption of information communication technologies among the teachers. So how you can relate, or how we can motivate the teachers for adopting this flipped classroom? This is my first question.
Yes.
Another question is, can we define a relationship between flipped classroom and MOOC? That means massive open online course.
Yes. So I start with the second question. It's quite easy one to answer. MOOCs has the first, still the M for the MOOCs is for massive. And classroom, the concept of a classroom is quite a smaller concept. So if you want to scale up education, that's the concept of MOOCs. And that's today MOOCs are evolving very, very quickly. If you have a look at XMOOCs, there is just traditional teaching in online courses. It has nothing to do with enhancing or collaboration. You have just the information transmission, and you have the less assignment and some question in between, maybe some forum in between. That's really quite old-fashioned learning. Other types of MOOCs, like C MOOCs or S MOOCs, are different. So I think what you're talking about, how can we enhance scalability, so you will, other types of MOOC will evolve, like S MOOCs, and this type, this interaction may be possible using that tools that we proposed before. And the first question, is that okay for you? So, okay, we can talk about the first question, because I think we are out of time. The first question, how to make a teacher use these technologies. I think it's important to have education. That means that teachers should come, have a look, practice themselves, build up their own systems, get into that technology and see that it's not so complicated. It can be done easily and quickly. One good thing is, one important thing, if you use one of these wikis, use the easy one. The easy one to use. And there are some I propose in my talk. If you go to the website, you can see there are some I propose you can use some. One I propose is in Chinese, so you can use also for your learning technical sites. And the other one must be easy. That means that it must be easy to manage, easy to edit, easy to control. That's very important. And there is need of teacher education. So propose some courses for your teachers. Let them come, show them how they can learn. I think that would be the good way. And it will take about 10 years. I guess so, 10 years. So don't give up. Thank you very much. I think we have to...
Thank totally for the talk, and we have used up the time, and we thank you all of you for coming. Thank you again. Thank you.